No gym needed, just intensity. As in today's video, I'm gonna be going over a 5-move full body workout you could do at home. If you don't have weights to do this workout, it's fine. You can use things that you have around the house. I personally don't have any weights at home. I use certain things. If not, there's ways that we can change our workup around and change how we do it to get that intensity that we have without any weights at our disposal. The 5-move set that I'm gonna go over is a squat, a push, a hinge, a row, and a carry. So when we're doing squats at home, we could change our stance depending on what we're trying to focus on. One of the main things when we do a squat, no matter which variation we do, we want to make sure we keep our feet planted on the ground and our heels flat. We don't want to be coming up on our toes. If you're doing a standard squat, we want to make sure we keep our toes as straight as possible and we don't have our feet too wide. The easy way to check this is to not have your feet wider than your shoulders. I myself have wide shoulders, so I can be a little bit more narrow. You have to find that area that's a bit more comfortable for you. For most variations of squat that you're gonna do, you wanna make sure that you're at least hitting that 90-degree angle with your legs when you go down. If you can go deeper, that's great. But at that minimum level, you want to make sure what they call going parallel. When we're going down and we're squatting, our legs are creating that 90-degree angle. And if you can't get there, get as close as you possibly can. There are a couple variations of squats that you can do. I said regular. You can do a Frogger squat. You can do a narrow squat, sumo, whatever squat you choose to do. Make sure you're doing it with intensity for this home workout. If you have something at home that you can hold, sometimes I'll hold a backpack and fill it up with books, or if you have a weight you can hold, great. If not, use tempo. We're gonna go down into our squat at a 4-second pace, and then we're gonna explode up. If you wanna make that even harder, you can pause when you're at the bottom of the squat when you're going down. Next is a push exercise. For this, personally, I love push-ups. Just like with squat, if you change the way your hand positioned during the push-up, you could change where you're hitting the push-up on your chest. If we're gonna do a regular push-up, we wanna start with our hands about chest width, right? And we're gonna make sure our elbows aren't flared out to the side like an airplane. I've seen a few people do that. You're never gonna do 90% of push exercises that way. You wanna make sure your elbows are back at a 45-degree angle, and then you're gonna keep your core tight. You wanna keep your core tight practically for any exercise. And if that's something that you can't do at this moment, you can progress to that. You could start on your knees, or you could start with a push-up where you're leaning up against something, whether it's the wall or the chair. If you need to make this exercise more difficult for a push-up, you can add something, put a weight or something on your back to make the push-up heavier. Like I said, I have my backpack full of books. I could put that on. Or you could change the variation or the degree of a push-up. You could change from a regular to doing a dynamic push-up, like a clapping push-up. You can do pike push-ups, which is gonna hit mostly your shoulders. You could do alligator push-ups, which is gonna involve a lot more of your core, and it's gonna be something where you're moving. And another thing that we can add, not only to regular push-ups, but to all those push-ups to still increase that intensity, is that tempo. Bringing it down at that 4 count, pausing at the bottom, and exploding up, or you can even slowly work yourself back up. If we don't have weights that we can use to our advantage, and we don't have the space to do something that's more dynamic, we could still make the workout difficult and create that intensity in what we're doing. Hinge. For our hinge workouts, you're gonna be hinging and bending at your waist. Sometimes you see people when they do hinge movements like a deadlift or a RDL, they tend to squat the movement. Hinges, you're gonna be pushing your hips back. You wanna make sure that you have a strong base. Find a stance that's comfortable for you, and then you're gonna push your hips back. When you're bending down, you're gonna push your hips back until you feel that stretch in your hamstrings, pushing your hips out until your butt is all the way out, as if there's a camera behind you and there's someone you're trying to show your butt to. That's the way That's the cue I think of. Someone's back there in a camera. I need to make some money this month. I gotta show off a little ass. That's how far back you gotta push your butt, right? And when we're doing it, our shoulders are back, they're engaged, our core is engaged, and we're going down, especially if you're not doing it with any weight, in a controlled movement. If you want to make this more difficult, you can do this with one leg. So you could stick, instead of having both legs square, you could stick one leg back and target mainly one leg at a time. When you're gonna do that, you're gonna make sure most of your weight is on that front leg and not that back leg. That back leg's just there for support. And even further from that, if you could pick that leg up off the ground, adds that even more level of difficulty. This same, use tempo to your advantage, right? You could do that 4 second on the way down, feel that squeeze and pause and explode up, or you can even slowly move yourself back up. For a row, I've done this with a broomstick. I've done this with bands. You could do it if you have a good enough band. You could do it one hand. You could do 2 hands at a time. There's 2 different ways that you can really do this that's really effective. You could do it where you're almost sitting in a hinge and you have your chest up just a little bit and you're rowing back. You can row to either your belly button and your waist, making sure that your elbows are shooting past. When you're shooting your elbows past, you don't want your elbows to be flared out. Again, we keep that 45-degree angle when we're shooting past our belly button. Another place where you can do the row is if you shoot between your chest and your stomach. It's going to target different parts of the back, but still we're making sure that we're keeping that 45-degree. You're not going to change and start doing that airplane movement where your arms are all the way out. Another way, which is what I like to do the most when I'm doing my row, instead of sitting in that hinge movement, I like to be bent over where my back is flat. And that you're relying more on your back when doing the row. You're not having a lot more other muscles involved. Yes, you could still get stronger that way, and yes, you could still develop your back that way, but when you have that hinge all the way with your back flat, you're taking a lot more other muscles out of it and you're getting more in your back. And it's the same with this one. You can row to your waist, your belly, but shooting your elbows back, or you can row more to between your chest and the top of your stomach, but you're still going to keep that 45-degree angle. If we're using that broomstick or bands, you should get the theme by this point. Tempo is our friend. Use tempo as much as possible to add that intensity. And last, a carry. You can do a carry if you don't have heavy things at home to carry. Instead of doing a farmer's carry where we have both of our hands at our side, you can carry one item at a time with your hand at your side, or you can have the difficulty where you're holding something over your head with both hands or one hand. You can even do a situation where you're carrying one big thing with both hands up. If you have kids, you can use your kids for this. You can use your kids for the weights for all the exercises. Or, like I said, just find something around the house that you can hold and then you can walk back and forth. With this, you want to make sure that you're feeling your core engaged and that you're stabilizing when you're doing your back and forth walking. You don't have to walk at a fast pace when doing any of this. You want to make sure that you're engaging those muscles. And with the carry, you understand how big your house is. So if you're going to say, I'm going to walk from this side of the living room to the other side of the living room, but you know that your living room's small as shit, don't just go to one side to the other ones and say that's going to be one set. No, you want to make sure that you're adding that challenge. If you have to go back and forth 4 times for that to be a set, then do so. And with all 5 of these exercises, you could do it in a circuit. You could start yourself off with something that's more simple, doing 15 reps each, and do that for 4 to 5 rounds or 4 to 5 sets. Or you can change it and make it more difficult, and you can do each exercise for a minute, pick a minute rest after, and then do that again for 4 to 5 sets. This circuit leaves you the ability to adjust to what your strengths are and where you need to grow. If you're just starting, if it's something that's really difficult for you, do 15 reps for each exercise, and you can build up to doing each exercise for a minute. Not only when you build to doing it for a minute, you can also give yourself more challenges by adding in more difficult versions of these movements. Till next time.